I love yours. Thank you so much for clicking on the link. It means a whole lot to me that you are either watching me talk in front of a webcam or listening to me over your headphones. My confidence in producing content was pretty low coming out of college just because I was too nervous about how I looked, how I sound, and can I string together a cohesive sentence. But this is the career I want for myself, so I need to get some practice in. And that leads me to introducing my first webcam interview guest. His name is Branden Kota Shimada. I met Branden during my 2-year working stint at Nike Portland, and I love the brand and I love the store. It was my home away from home for those 2 years. But what really made it special for me was the people. Whether it was a customer or whether it was my coworkers. And working with Branden, it was an absolute blast just because he can be as driven, he can be as focused as the top employee, but when it came to turning it off and just being a jokester, someone you can have a fun conversation with, he was, it was fantastic. It was great. It's what drew me into, wanting to hang out with him and talk with him during those 2 years. So we had a great conversation about his life, his childhood, and high school days, and where he wants to take his musical career. And as of Monday, April 20th, he had dropped his third track called "Hold Up," and I will put a link to where you can find his musical works in the description below. So, without further ado, please enjoy the interview with Branden Kota Shimada. With your parents,
Yeah.
what was your childhood like? Growing up, and then going through high school, college, and yeah.
Yeah. Growing up, I went to school in like Northeast Portland area, but always raised in Southwest. So that's where I live right now with my parents. Always been super close knit family. My dad is very active, super active surfer, to be honest with you. So he loves surfing. You will always catch him at the beach on a nice day. So he was kind of one of like the guys who got us out and about, right? And my mom, she's just like one of the hardest workers you'll ever meet. So I think a combination of those two kind of just got me to be like out and active a lot. So we grew up in a very active family. Sports, like my brother's savage basketball player. Crazy story. So like the professor in N1.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He played. My brother's like same age as him, so they played in high school together. They like butted heads and everything. So they're really cool guys. They're friends still to this day. And
Really?
yeah, yeah. So it's cool. Like my brother is still an incredible hooper.
Yeah.
And kind of I grew up right having my brother be this like amazing basketball player. So sports were my whole family, but my dad also has a strong passion for music,
Yeah.
and he kind of brought that out of me and my brother as well. So it's kind of like a musical sports house growing
Yeah.
up, and we're all really close knit. We always like jam out together, try to do stuff together. But yeah. So middle school, was in Southeast Portland. It was like it's Richmond Elementary,
Mhm.
and then Mount Tabor Middle School, and I did Japanese the whole way because
Mm.
my dad is Japanese. So
Yeah.
so yeah, always learning Japanese. Got to go to Japan in 5th grade and 8th grade for a school trip,
Yeah.
which was really cool. So I also
That's pricey too.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I don't even remember back then. It was like per student. I think it was a minimum. It was like $800 per student.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's like in 5th grade.
That's
So yeah, it was. But we did like fundraisers and a lot of stuff like that through the school. So it was a thing that happened every year.
okay.
So
Okay.
it was kind of like part of the school program. Really cool experience. But it got me to kind of like travel and just like be out and about a lot, right? So
Yeah.
in high school, um I went to Grant High School, which is
Yeah.
in Northeast Portland.
Yeah.
Um, huge school. Our freshman class was like 500.
Mhm.
So there was just a lot of athletes. It was a really cool experience just growing up around a lot of different people.
Mhm.
And there I obviously it was kind of a sports thing. So I started with football, and then it led into basketball and then into track. But
Mhm.
meanwhile, I was kind of like I was super jock, right? So I didn't like focus as much in studies as I probably should have,
Yep, I was there with you too. Yep.
right? So
Get
yeah,
tied up in wearing the jersey more than like being the student.
yeah, exactly. So I wasn't always too keen on like studies as much. So I tried to find like classes that were a little maybe easier than the standard class.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my buddy, he was like, "Hey man, try choir out. See what you think. It's an easy A. You have like one test a year. All the homies are in there. It'll be fun, right?" So
Yeah.
I was like, "Heck yeah, I'll try it out. You know, like I'm just gonna be in this classroom. No one's gonna see me."
Yeah, of
And
course.
long story short, like the first day I meet the teacher, her name's Miss Jarbo, shout out. Um, she kind of changed my whole world, really,
Yeah.
for music. Yeah, she like it was weird. I've always been a nervous guy, even to this day. I'm super nervous, but
Uh,
yeah, she was like someone who I think she kind of saw potential in
mm,
music for me, so it was cool. She kind of unlocked the doors, got me to venture out instead of just sports and do multiple things, and that kind of like changed how I grew up too and raised. So
can you tell me a moment when you just kind of turned it on? You're like, aha, I can sing. And then you kind of, because I know I have those moments too where like, where I remember when I was younger, I was like, holy crap, I figured out how to read a clock with like on my wrist, so I got a watch. And then I just wanted to brag to everyone, like, hey guys, I know how to read a clock. A moment like that for you.
oh man, I think the moment like that for me was honestly after the conversation with that teacher, really, because I've never been a extremely confident person in like the talents that I have. I mean, growing up in a school that was like the sports were, I was the token Asian. Let's just say that. So I wasn't, I didn't know like which path to really go. I
Sure.
was very, very kind of alone in that thing, except for me and my brother, obviously. But yeah, so like when I was doing those music classes, I was like, this is fun, easy, and Miss Jarbo, she would pull me aside and be like, hey, are you like have you ever thought about being like more serious about singing? And I was like, what do you mean? I thought it was just like you just sing and that's it,
That's
right?
it. Yeah, yeah.
And she was like, no, there's like, there's so much in depth in the culture of music and singing and all that I would love to teach you about. And for me, it was like, whoa, like I had I didn't know it was like that. So I had a whole nother perspective to look at. And she told me to try out for this choir called the Royal Blues,
Hmm.
and they're nationally ranked. The year I was in it, we were ranked number 9 in the nation for high school choirs.
Mm-hmm.
So we were pretty. It was intense. Like there was a month. I think it was 1 month where we had 45 performances. Yeah, in 1 month. So it was sometimes 2, 3 performances a day. So that was it was the coolest thing ever. Let's just say that. And long story short, I thought like I'm crazy for trying to do this. I'm an athlete. Like I like to run past people and just run fast.
Yeah.
And this is like stand in one place and just like make noises,
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is so weird, but I loved it. Like when I would go home, I'd be like, wow, that was like the most fun I've ever had in a classroom setting in my entire life. So it was like I love music. Like I love doing it. And she's like, you're good. So, and you have to be at some level to get into that choir. So I was like, wow, I can't even believe I like made it in.
Yeah. There you
And it
go.
was like off a whim. She's like, just try it out. If you don't make it, it's okay. It's like you have another year in school, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I made the squad and it was like, dang, I made the squad, you know? So yeah.
So you said, so that kind of mean to me it says that you did this around junior year, sophomore, junior year.
Junior year. Sorry, yeah. Junior year was where I really locked in. Freshman year, I just did a men's choir class,
Sure.
and that was with the boys, with the bros.
Yeah.
And sophomore year, I think I did the same thing again, and that's where I was kind of like, I could like do this every year, like,
Yeah.
And so that's when I think Miss Jarbo, she was like, oh, he's doing it another year. Like maybe he has some interest in it, And then it was the end of sophomore year where she was like, hey, if you really, like started saying like, hey, start thinking about like being a real singer and blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, the beginning of junior year was tryouts,
Nice.
made it. And it was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
in high school, you and I are both athletes,
Yeah.
and granted, it is different times. Probably that same time for us, where like the athletes stick with athletes, and then the I don't want to say like nerds, but the mathletes,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
group, the cliques.
The
Now,
clicks. Sure.
were you worried at all about maybe switching into too many clicks, or are you just kind of like that just never crossed your mind? Oh, where like maybe someone from your athletic group that didn't know just built you up as like this guy that just did sports, does singing. Now he's like, what? This is crazy, or like how'd you feel when you kind of break that stereotype in your head?
Um, uh, well, being like that token athlete, and as an Asian, it kind of already set me apart from people.
Mhm.
So I kind of was used to not like trying to fit in, It was more like I stood out all the time, and it was kind of like, Shimada, you're different, you're different, you're different. So I kind of like ran with it. I was like, you know what, if I'm different, I might as well be different.
Yeah,
So right? I might as well just, instead of like waste my time being frustrated trying to be someone that I'm not,
yeah,
right? So like for me, it was like, and I was lucky because the guy who talked me into my choir class he did sports as well. His name's Nathan Knutson. He's like my ride or die, one of my closest friends of all time. I still make music with him to this day. So he was kind of one of the guys who was like, yo man, like you don't have to like kick it with anybody. Like just do you, and people will like you for who you are. And we became this group of friends that actually became like a clique, our own clique,
there
and
you
of
go.
like very different people. So like literally just from looks, we looked so unique. Like it was like me, the Asian guy, my friend Nate, he's Filipino. He's pretty much just a super mix, right? So he's like light skinned mixed guy. My friend Brody, he was very dark skinned. This guy Solomon, who was Native American, like our group was just like, it was almost like a group of misfits that we
Mhm.
were just like, we kind of accepted that, and we were like, yo, you guys are cool. Like if you just look past the differences, we're all like homies, and we all like things. So that's
Yeah,
kind of how it happened. It was like never, at first I was like, maybe I should want to be, like the starting five homie, right, for the football team, obviously, right? But it never was like that. It was like they pushed me away. So I was more like, all right, well, I'm just gonna do my own thing if you're not gonna be cool with me, because like I'm a chill dude. I'd just rather be friends with everybody than
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I didn't actually have a trouble with that, luckily.
So, how do you feel about the phrase token? Because you said it a couple times.
Yeah,
Do you kind of feel like it's has a positive or negative connotation?
depends on the way you look at it, really. Like for me, it was an opportunity. Like it was an opportunity, but also it was like I have my own lane, so there's no really right or wrong I can go about it. So like it was not pressure, but on the other hand, it was like freedom.
Yeah,
So yeah, token for me personally is like, it's just that phrase of being the only person of that, like that, like,
yeah,
so for me, I was, like I said, the token Asian. I was the only Asian guy on the well, Japanese. I was the
mhm,
only Japanese player on the football team. So it was
yeah,
kind of like, yeah, tokens, like, if it is offensive, that's my, I don't mean it in an offensive way by any means.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you're taking the whatever kind of mindset that usually comes with the word token, and you're spitting it into a positive
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
kind of setting your own standards when it comes to being the only Japanese Asian in on the football team.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's pressure. Yeah, and it comes with pressure. Obviously, being one of, like, there's eyes on you because you stand out, right? But
Yeah,
on the other hand, it's like they're gonna be on you anyway. So do what makes you happy, and if they like it, then you know who to rock with.
yeah.
You know?
So during games, what was your mindset? Because obviously it's a performance. Yeah, we practice throughout the week, and then this is where you kind of set it on the stage. Um, how was your mindset during the games? Like when you're on the field, or you competing on the track, and then how did that kind of mindset carry into like your performances musically? Like how you act, because you are, like you said earlier, you were kind of staying stagnant. You're not moving around,
Yeah,
you're is making sounds with your mouth, and sometimes you step forward, sometimes with solo, sometimes you have duets and whatever. But
yeah.
how do you kind of carry that mindset from like being a player on during a game to a performer on stage?
Well, it's just kind of the lessons I learned being an athlete, like the like how nerves sometimes can work in a positive way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's probably the like one of the main things I would say that I use from athletics that I have translated to music right away is like nerves mean you like care, right? And
Yeah.
so your body's reacting to it and it's like it wants to be right.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think that's when I was like, I understood in track physically. I could feel that my body liked doing track because I'd get nervous before a race, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like when I sing, anytime I think about singing, I kind of get nervous. So I was like, I must have this kind of care for music that I don't really know I have. And so it's the more I deep dive into it, it's like, yeah, I always want to be around music. I always kind of want to do music. And singing for me has been, I don't know, I've got the most reaction from people out of it with singing, as opposed to like track is like, yeah, you're good job, you won, and it was like, for me, it was like, that's satisfaction. Yeah. But when someone's like, I feel you, right? That's like way deeper for me. And it's like, man, I'm like more connected
Yeah.
emotionally to music than I feel like I am with anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because with even let's say watching professional sports on TV, like for football, for NFL, for example, you
yeah,
can't really see the emotions that are portrayed from players other than like happiness or like frustration. Like but with music,
yeah,
you can draw out more from yourself and more from the listener. From what I feel is not as a music
absolutely,
producer, but as like someone that listens religiously. So
absolutely, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and so then um, your time with sports, how did that lead into your time working with the Anthony Newman camp?
Um, so that was my first job actually I ever got was Anthony Newman sports camps. And it was freshman year in high school, summer freshman year.
Yeah.
And that guy Nate, I'm telling you, like me and him were literally like inseparable. So his mom, she was the one who was like, "Hey, you love sports. You love like talking to people. Do you like kids?" And I was like, "I love kids.
Mm.
Why? Like, who doesn't like kids, right?" And so she was like, "Try this job out. Super easy. All you have to do is be a big kid." And I was like, "Say less. Tell me where to be." She's like, "Oh, you'll be on Nike campus." I'm like, I'm there. So that's how it started. I just kind of was really fortunate and really close with this family, the Knudsen family, and York family. And she kind of just hooked me up. She used to be a trailblazer dancer, so she's got a huge network of people in active communities with like Nike, there's like big brands. So she hooked it up, and I did that from high school, from freshman year in high school until um, the end of my junior year in college. So 7 years of working that job, and it's just in the summer. So it was, but I absolutely loved it. It worked out perfectly with school. Never had to like, never clash with anything. And I got to meet Anthony Newman himself and become close friends with him.
Mm.
And it was just like the experience of being on Nike campus. You can't say no for you know. So it's like that's kind of how, I mean, me, how like my whole Nike story, and it's kind of how it all blends together. It's like I got the experience of just like, hey, get to work on campus. You're not a campus employee, but you get to see what it's like working on campus. And it was just like a dream come true, right? So yeah, I was very, very fortunate to get offered that job, and I loved it. It was just doing sports with kids, and it was multi-sport camp. So it was like basketball, baseball, soccer. It was cool because like kids who didn't know, we got to teach them, and kids who did know, they would get more advanced coaching. So it was just like, for me, it was literally, I was like a big kid going to a sports camp. You know,
Awesome, man. That's
best
awesome.
job, one of the best jobs I ever had. Yeah.
Can you talk to me about your first day? Because obviously, walking on Nike campus, starstruck, walking, seeing Anthony Newman. being, the status he has with his history with sports and whatnot, and seeing him on TV. For me myself, like I going on Nike campus, I think first time was illegally because just kind of walked on.
Yeah.
Like the kid in a candy store, and then I actually did partake in the Anthony Newman camp when I was younger. It was back when it was at a high school, so
Okay.
been before your time. But
Okay.
yeah, I just remember like I was not in the greatest shape, but he gave us like I think free cleats or something like that, and I would try to run and try to keep up with everyone, but I also had asthma. But it's just
Yeah, yeah.
talked to him for like a short bit, but he's like super nice guy from the
Oh my
short
gosh, he's
conversation I
the
had.
most gentle, friendly, caring person I've met. That like you would just not expect it. He's just this huge,
Mm-hmm.
huge being, right? Very intimidating looking. But then when you like get close to him, he's got this like massive smile on his face, right? So you're like, he seems like he's a pretty nice guy, you know? But yeah, it was for me, it was I was starstruck, really. It was like I felt like my jaw was just on the floor the whole day. And I was just like, I need to like do my job, like I need to talk to these kids and it was cool because the way it happened was like he walked up to me and he was like, "Hey, I'm Anthony Newman," just so down to earth, like, and he just went straight to like, "Hey, man, like this is obviously about the kids, like step one, like make sure they're involved," and we just went straight into like the camp, right? And so for me, I just felt like I was immediately just part of the squad, and it was great, it was the coolest summer job I could think about having because I'm just being active and I'm also just helping kids and having fun. So it was, yeah, it was just every time I would clock in, I'd go to work, I would just have this huge grin on my face. Like, who knows what's going to happen today? So yeah, it was, like when you watch those films and there's that like that aura around someone where it's like, oh,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was like that just everywhere, dude. I was just like, wow, there's just this aura everywhere.
Oh god, everywhere. Do you still keep in contact with him?
Yeah, it's not as much as I probably should, but I definitely, every once in a while I just ask him like how the kids doing. And he's always just so open to be like, they're doing great. We got blah blah blah. And he's just a real nice guy. He pretty much just he's very caring, he's open. And so anytime I want to talk to him, he is more than willing to. He'll always answer my text.
Hey,
Very down to earth guy. Yeah, it's cool. So just having him as a contact and as someone that I know is it's surreal.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then, so the junior year of college is when you stopped participating or you stopped working at the camp.
Mhm.
Then that jump from junior year to when you got when you got the job at Nike. If you
Mhm.
can't tell me about that timeline and how you ended up back working with the company where you spent some time on their campus and whatnot.
Yeah. So from camps, so I came back. I'll start from why I kind of like stopped doing the camps and all that. So junior year at Weber State, I actually got an injury on my hamstring, and because of that, long story short, I moved back to Portland,
Mhm.
and I couldn't really be as active because I mean, to this day, my hamstring is not the same,
Mhm.
and it was just kind of like the adjustment of like, wow, like I'm not gonna be an athlete forever, and like trying to get used to that, and it was kind of like a shock and a step back. And so I was like, what else, like, can I like really deep dive into if I can't do athletics forever? And that's when I was like, music is my second passion. Why not deep dive into it? So it's kind of like that same year, I kind of tried to change things up, right? So I had a lot of talks with my brother,
Mhm.
and he just kind of talked to me about his work experience and like what kind of helped him develop as an individual. And that's where he talked me into working for LA Fitness because I wanted to stay active. Um, Camps are only in the summer and it wasn't a full-time thing, right? So I moved back home. I need a job, right? So I'm kind of like, how can I talked to Anthony and we wanted to try to get camps as a full year thing. And it was just too much to do
Mhm.
really at that time. So for me, it was like, I need to still find a job what should I do? I talked to my brother. He's like, do LA Fitness. You have a free gym membership. And I was like, sold. I'll be there. Right. So it was actually amazing though. I learned a lot of professional experience from that job, learning how to communicate with people. I sold membership. So I learned how to become a salesman, I guess, in a way, but I also just like learned a lot about being professional, you know, and being polite, talking to people, figuring things out. And so from there, he told me, he's like, what I did, and this is my brother talking. He said, what I did in my path was I went to LA Fitness. I learned this experience of how to communicate with people and become professional, you know, in a professional aspect and act professionally.
Yeah.
And I went, and then he went to Nike. And so he was like, he translated that to Nike and it helped him propel as a person, not just as a professional in the workplace, but like as an individual. So I was like, I wanted to follow my brother's footsteps in a way, you know. I was like, if he did it, it's possible. So I went to LA Fitness. He sold training, I sold membership, so it was a little bit different. But yeah, I learned a lot from there. And at one point, I was kind of just like, all right, I think I'm good on this gym job kind of thing, right? It's like, for me personally, I'm not a salesman, in my opinion, and I don't like to sell things, right? I just like to talk to people and include people. So for me, I was like, all right, I think I need to get out of this whole sales thing and just do this, try Nike out, you know. My brother has said it's the best job he's ever had, so it's probably a pretty fun job to try out. So, you know, I felt comfortable because I learned all these professional skills from LA Fitness, and I applied. I went to the interview and I luckily got the job. And because of that, and it's crazy, just like right then and there, once I got that Nike job, I was like, wow, this is doable. Like what my brother's saying, all these things are possible. So I started like just listening to him more, talking to my brother more, and it just kind of went from there, you know. Like we became closer as brothers too. Like when we were really young, it was like that big brother, little brother, like button heads.
Yep.
But yeah, there came a time where we were just kind of like, I think it was honestly more him than me. And he was just like, you know, I just want to be more involved in my brother's life. So it was cool. Like we became super close.
Yeah. So yeah, I have an older brother. I think I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
So how much of, you know, because I get the whole follow in his footsteps, you know, because he does kind of trail the blaze.
Yeah.
To put a pun on
Go Blazers, let's go. I like that.
Blazers. But like, how much is it of you want to follow his footsteps, and how much is it of you trying to set your own path? Like, how much of that kind of intersects? How much of that kind of divulges, especially with you being a separate person than him?
Yeah. That's an awesome question. I feel like, it's a mixture of both, right? Because my brother said he's done it, you know, and I know it's doable. And him and I are very unique in like the way we were kind of raised. Like my dad's Japanese, my mom is from Klamath Falls, Oregon. She's white, you know, like, and so it was kind of, we have a different path, right? So it's like I have this person who's kind of, he looks just like me and he's doing things and he's making it happen, right? And so my brother, he's gone through a lot in his life. He's learned a lot, and so it's a lot of it's experience, you know. And so I listen to what he says because he has experience doing it. And on the other hand, you know, I have different experiences in my life because he's not a singer, you know, like that just come to, he can sing, but he's not a singer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's different, but it's good because I feel like my dad taught me you need to have a balance, you know, when it comes to everything in life, food, all that. And so I think that's been a huge crucial part of it, is like, I make sure to have that balance. I listen to what my brother says, and then I apply it to me if it works, you know? And I think we just been so close as a family. We always talk about things. We talk things through. We think about what's the best way to go about it. So it's usually not a quick conversation, you know, it's like multiple or whatever. We're very close knit. I'm with my brother all the time. We're inseparable. I'm always with someone, and I always got to be with someone, you know, Gotta be around
I get that.
somebody. This
You're a
this
people
social
person.
distancing is tough.
You're a people person.
Oh man, but yeah, it's a mixture of both. You know, like I know I need to create my own path, and I want to create my own path, but I don't want to like not know about everything. You know, like if there's experiences that my brother's experienced, like I listen, you know, like I would love to listen to it, just like my dad's has, just like anybody has experiences. It's good to listen to people, you know, and because people have a story, everybody has a story. They all have experienced things.
Hence why I'm here, baby. I just want to hear your story. That's why I'm
Man, it's
communicating with you.
so good, man. But yeah, it's a
Yeah.
mixture of both. That was a great question. I love that question.
Yeah, thanks. You know, yeah, this whole like trying to, have questions that pertain to what you talk about, like this whole new format I'm trying. It's like I feel like much more organic. I feel like this is much more of a fluid conversation than the ones I've had all prior times. So like I'm
Yeah.
super appreciative of you, taking time from recording and doing all this work. And
I appreciate you, man.
oh, man,
Appreciate you.
we're not done yet, though. We're not done yet.
Oh,
Uh,
I like it.
So you talked about your starting as singing, with your athletics, and then how it still kind of took like a 1B to athletics, and you trying to get a career going, and or just trying to get some sort of work going.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your position with the Portland? Was it Timbre?
Timbre. Yeah.
Timbre.
Yeah. So, what year was that? I think that was 2011. It's the same year I moved back. So I transferred from Weber State to PSU, and while I was there, I started running into a lot of people I knew from Portland because I was kind of back in the town. And I think I was walking from one class to the other, and I ran into one of my high school friends who this guy was known for music. He was just like, he was always on the stage. He did theater, he did all the choirs, all that stuff. Amazing singer. His name's Ian Adams Dirks. Amazing
vocal. You get some shout outs today.
Hey man, I shout out people, you got to show love to where it's from. So yeah, he literally was like, yo man, like literally walked up to me, yo man, you still sing? And I'm like, not really, and he's like, do you want to? I'm like, sure, and he's like, dude, try out for my acapella group. So I was like, heck yeah. And then somehow it switched from, do you want to sing in my acapella group to try out by rapping. So I rapped Eminem's Love the Way You Lie.
Nice.
And I never rapped a day in my life. And he's like, rap this and you're in the group. And I'm like, do I have to like rap forever or can I like sing after? And he's like, you just got to do this one rap and they'll let you in the group and then you can sing. So like, whatever, weird, but whatever. So so I just screamed this thing out, right? And they were like, yeah, you're in. I'm like, sick, okay. I like to sing, by the way, though. And they were just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. He's a singer. I'm like, yeah, I actually, whatever. Yeah, I like to sing, right? Yeah. So yeah, I get into the Portland States group, and he then was like, yo, I have a professional group called the Portland Timbre that I've been working on too. And he's like, you should just join that as well. And I was like, I'm already like singing in this group. How's that going to work? He goes, don't worry, I'm in both groups. It's possible. So he literally Monday, Wednesday, Friday was Portland State's group. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday was the professional group. So he was like, every day. And I was like, I think I'll get better as a singer if I sing every day, right? So he's like, try out for the group. I think you'll make it. So, but you don't have to rap this time. You can actually sing. And I was like, oh, cool. I can actually like try out by singing and see what people think. So I tried out for the group at a karaoke bar. Yeah. So super chill. It was after their performance. After practice, they usually go and chill after, like at a karaoke bar. And that was kind of a tradition. And so I met up with him at the karaoke bar with the group after their rehearsal, right? So I sang Woman's Work by Maxwell.
Okay.
And they were like, yeah, man, I think you can get in the group with that. So I was like, sick. When should I try out? And they're like, no, like I think you're in the group now. And we're like, oh, yes, right? Celebrate. Heck yeah. So yeah, I got in the group pretty much the same year I was in the Portland State group, and I just sang every day. And the timbre, the cool thing about the timbre was I could perform anywhere. So I got to, I was like busking. I was literally singing on the streets for dollar bills. We have a song that's called, we actually have a song that sings about dollar bills, like dollar bill y'all. So we were singing for bucks. And so I'd sing at like farmers market, Saturday market, and then it kind of like started growing, right? So next thing you know, we're singing at like senior homes, we're singing holidays, and then like next thing you know, we get like actual gigs, right? So we're going to Washington, we're going to like Cal, and we're just singing out all these places. And it was very professional because we had this set of songs that we'd do, and every year we'd introduce a certain amount of new songs. And so we'd be continuously studying music. It was like a job. So like we would just be studying, practicing, and then have this performance. And with each performance, we'd be able to upgrade our gear, get more stuff. So every performance got better and better, right? So I just kind of learned in a different way, I learned the professional setting of music and a cappella. And for me, it was like one of the coolest experiences I've ever learned. I got to record in booths, like a cereal box, like made out of cereal boxes, like the most cheap booth you've ever seen, all the way to like a I think it was like $3,000 build it your own completely soundproof booth that you can, it's portable.
What?
Craziness. Yeah. What? Yeah. And that's where and it was like, and we were singing on a $10,000 mic.
Wow.
We paid a lot of money for that CD to get done. So, but yeah, I mean, it was just the experience of like getting that professional level recording quality, even from like cereal boxes, right? And it was just like I learned every step of the way for music.
Yeah.
And it was just like it was, for me, it was the coolest experience and probably the most like in-depth knowledge experience that I could use towards music. So yeah, the timbre is fun, so much fun. And our color was purple, which was my Weber State color. So I was like, I get to rock all my Weber gear again. Yes.
Free.
Yeah. Hence the purple. You know?
I see it. I see it, man. Looks good.
It's everywhere.
So, going back to athletics, you were, leading up, got the practices, you have stretching, you have kind of techniques to keep yourself like physically prepared. When it comes to music, what is your ritual towards staying prepared outside of like practicing? Like, what do you do in between to make sure that you are going to perform and sing and make sure that you, like, with your schedule being packed with all this acapella music and then you're recording your own stuff, how do you keep your voice still, there, not onto the openness?
Yeah. At first, it was I lost my voice in 1 week, and I was just like hoarse for weeks, and I had to literally force sound out to the point where I gained strength. Luckily, I didn't like seriously damage something, but I like gained strength through pushing past the limit, and that was something in athletics that translated so easy mentally, right? For me, it was like you always break through a wall, right? When you're in a sport, you push past what you think is good, and that's how you become better. Yeah. So it was that aspect of I'm only going to get better if I keep doing it and if I don't give up. So I sang every day. My voice hurt for weeks. I drink tea, cough drops, even like just like cough syrup. I'd have to like take shots of it, because it would just hurt. And like I tried everything. There was a point where I was like, I'm not a heavy drinker or anything like that, but I would take shots of whiskey because it would soothe my throat so that I could sing, right? So it was not even for the drinking aspect. It was for the medicine. Like it would feel like warm my throat, and that pain would kind of go away so I could sing. So yeah, I mean, it was just pushing through it, building those neck muscles, I guess, those throat muscles, man,
Yeah.
I got those, and yeah, it was an experience. Everything for me has been experience. I always try to look back on things and see what I did good, what I did bad, and try to learn from it, right? So
Yeah, definitely.
so yeah, that's how I look at it. If it's bad or if it's tough, look back and see why it was tough, see how you can make it easier. So
Yeah, no, definitely. And that can also be kind of spoken to you how you are as a person. You'll try these things, and then if it sucks, you'll just keep pushing until it gets better. And
yeah.
that's the drive, and all the fun things that Nike pushed out to people that I still live to this day. So
Yeah.
I use the word challenge when I want to do something instead of saying I'm going to do this task, because
Yeah.
that's what Donovan always said to us in the morning huddles, like,
Yep,
challenge
seriously.
you guys to get all these. I'm like, all right, Donovan, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah, for real. Seriously, yeah.
Yeah, so I listened to both your songs. I think Drowning I've heard a couple times now, and then the most recent one you pushed out was, I believe, Love It.
Yep.
Right.
Love it. Yeah.
What are some of your musical inspirations? I know you got some practice singing. You've perfected you're not really perfected, because no one can really perfect voices yet, but you're getting there. You're working towards it.
Yeah.
And with music always evolving, what were some of your like idols? What type of things did you look for in other people that you're like, I'm gonna grab that and use that in my arsenal?
Yeah. Man. Uh so many different artists. I wouldn't be able to do like a top five, but I mean, I'll name some, like Stevie Wonder, like the classic Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, Michael Jackson. It was my dad always had music playing in the house, and like it was I'm very influenced by like like 70s to 90s music. I love that era of music and the sound and the vibes it bring. And so like Brian McKnight, one of my favorites is Tank.
Mhm.
He's I I don't know how to explain it, but like I feel like I can just relate to his sound in a way. Like when he sings notes, I'm like, that's how I feel about that. Yeah, I get
Damn.
that. I get it. I understand. And so yeah, it was Tank's a big influence. Brian McKnight. I think it was like rhythm and blues
Mm.
is my category if I were to pick any. And yeah, I think Tank, I said Brian McKnight. Boys to Men, huge, huge
Oh,
influence. They were a cappella. That was a huge part of my a cappella life, all that stuff. It was like, wow, just like hearing up more than one voice together and what it can do with like harmonies and stuff like that was like mind blowing for me, And so, yeah, Boys to Men, um, uh, a lot of R&B, not as much hip hop, jazz, some Japanese artists too. If you've heard a guy named like Tatsuro, he's a classic artist. Um, yeah, a lot of different genres. I've always been someone who absorbs from many different things and kind of likes things. Like for instance, on football, I'm not a huge like team thing, but I like individual players for certain things, right? So like I like all these different little things. So
yeah.
yeah, a lot of influences. I did not do this by myself. Yeah, I learned from everybody. I also don't feel like this was something that was given to me like as a talent or anything. I feel like I trained to become a singer,
Mhm.
and I do feel like anybody can become a singer if they put the time in, so
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I study all the music, I try to listen to, I would say if there's a genre that's I'm not as keen to, my least favorite of genres, but I still listen to, would be country. But I mean,
Yeah.
but I love storytelling that country gives. I love storytelling that like probably the best genre for storytelling, honestly. And so it's like I have that respect for them. I always will be willing to listen to the story.
Yeah, like I was never really a country listener as well, but like I knew that just by like the title, maybe like some short snippets or girlfriends I had in the past, I loved country. Like I would listen because I'm one of those, like if I'm driving, you pick the music, I need to focus on driving.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure.
they pick country, and then like while it's on my top choice, it's like it does tell a good story. The whole tractor ran over my dog type of thing, or I don't think that's a real song, but
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's not good. That's not a good
It's
thing.
not good. Yeah, there's nobody. No stretch of imagination is that good.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's not good at all. I love dogs. Shout out to dogs.
so you told me that you're currently working on something. You are scheduled to release it on 420, correct? Or you might need
Tomorrow, yeah,
tomorrow. Yes.
yeah, tomorrow, 420.
What can we expect from you?
It's different than Love It, but it's similar because it's very. I kind of realized more that like at least from feedback that I've heard from people who listen to my music, they said like they like the mellow kind of easygoing sound that I have. So for me, I was like, okay, how can I really like kind of deep dive more into that and kind of continue that, right? So this next song releasing tomorrow, it's similar tempo wise. It's a chill vibe, but it's not as much like a in the moment song because that song actually I wrote. So Love It actually was started after this song that I'm releasing tomorrow. It was very much a like right when people started kind of feeling like it, you know how like the song is about like motivation and all that stuff. So it was very much like this emotion that I had, and I was like, I need to let this out.
Mhm.
I feel like not just I need to hear it, but I feel like there's other people who need to hear it. So it was a message to not just other people, but it was kind of like motivate myself as well to like continue to work hard, even though there's like so much negativity just like floating everywhere, right? So yeah, that one was like I need to get that out. I feel like it's perfect for right now. People need to hear it. So I put that one out, but Hold Up is more of just like a standard song. Um it's it's like I'm kind of like hollering at a girl. And so it's more of like a normal like R&B like, and so yeah, that's I like it a lot because for me it's more of a an emotion, not as much the lyrics, right? So Love It was more lyrical, and I feel like that was like the message. I was like saying things that people wanted to hear. So yeah, Hold Up is more of just like me, just kind of in my own feelings, like talking, like expressing how I feel about this girl, and like it's kind of like I'm talking to her, but I'm not. It's like in my practice. I'm in front of the mirror trying to like holler at this girl, and this is like my trial and error kind of song. So it's cool. I like it. It's got vibes. I would say if there's a genre for it, it's more jazzy, jazz R&B. So it's like Snow Allegra. It was very much inspired off of her, like her vibe of like you can like just chillax, right? And like just listen to the sound. You're like, wow, that's some cool. Like she sounds good, but it's also like a really positive. Just you almost feel like you're at like a cafe, like sipping on something, right? And so
Yeah.
that's the vibe I try to give with it. It's like you're at some like cafe, and it's just vibes, man. It's a holla at you vibes. But yeah, releases tomorrow. I'm excited. It'll be on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, pretty much all the major platforms. If there's ones that they're not on, let me know, and I can literally try to put them on there. So
Yeah, I'll put all the description, all the places your stuff can be found.
Yeah.
Description below. So, and I think that's the perfect place to wrap this up, man. Thank you so much for sitting down with me and
Thank you.
being the first webcam chat that I've had, and you will be posted on YouTube because it's video. Let's get some video content out there.
Yes.
Ooh.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. Do you have any follow-up questions for the guest? Put them in the comments below and I will work to get those answers for you. For more content from KC Media, please hit the subscribe button and I'll see you guys next time.